What's up everyone, it's Kelly and today I've got another swatch review for you. So today we are talking about the newest collection from Starrily, which is called their Liminal Dreams collection. Now, if you haven't heard of Starrily before, they are an independent nail polish brand that is based in the US, and all of their polishes are 10 free, meaning they are free of 10 of the potentially harmful ingredients that can be found in nail polish. They're vegan, meaning they do not use any animal derived ingredients, and they're also cruelty free, meaning they do not test their products on animals. And they just released this brand new collection, Liminal Dreams. We've got 8 new polishes. They're all in very ethereal colors, including one magnetic polish and one super packed iridescent topper. Now I have to say, I was super excited about this concept when I first saw the teasers for it. I feel like I've been a little bit obsessed with liminal spaces and like back rooms vibes for a while now. I've been reading a lot of books about it, so I feel like having that conceptualized into a nail polish collection is such a fun idea. If you're not familiar with what liminal spaces or liminal dreams are, basically it's just that sort of surreal space that feels kind of dreamlike, sometimes eerie, a little bit nostalgic, and it usually features like abandoned spaces or something that looks slightly unreal. So it's that kind of vibe. Honestly, it's kind of weird to explain, but if you see videos of liminal spaces, I think it's easier to understand, or if you come across one in real life. One thing that I always feel is like a little eerie and dreamlike is when I go to a gas station in the middle of the night and it's fully empty and there's like no lights around except for the light at the gas station. That's kind of like a liminal vibe to me. But yeah, a lot of people actually love the idea, myself included, of being trapped in liminal spaces, which is what like backrooms stuff is about. It's like when you fall out of this dimension into another dimension. And that's what this collection evokes for me. We have these like very slightly weird colors. It's hard to explain, but let me show you the swatches first. Then we can get more into my thoughts on them, pricing, availability, all that good stuff. So roll the swatch footage. So as with all of my swatch and review videos, I am using base coat underneath all of my swatches just to protect my natural nail and prevent any stains. Today I'm using the Starrily Guardian base coat. And I'm going to start off with the magnetic polish because, as you probably know, I've been in a bit of a magnetic phase lately. This shade is called Reality Shift. So we have this really gorgeous purple base, and then we have a duochromy blue to green shimmer in there, as well as a whitish silver magnetic pigment running throughout. So here's what it looks like unmagnetized. Absolutely gorgeous. I just love the dimensionality of it. So what I like to do is 2 coats for coverage, and then I magnetize the third. In this case, I'm starting off with the velvet style, just creating that sort of 3D fuzzy sort of effect on my nails. And what I like to do personally is pull up all of that white velvety pigment towards the top, and then you can see as I move my nail around, that duochrome shimmer is at the bottom layer, and it just becomes even more dimensional. I feel like it's a subtle design, but it's very cool. But what really wowed me about this polish was seeing it in the cat eye style. So once again, just applying a third coat to magnetize, and then while that's still wet, I hover my magnet over it. And quick side note, Starry's magnets, in my opinion, are the cutest. They just have the little star and planet and space designs on them, so totally love those. But yeah, here's what it looks like magnetized in that style, and you can just see all of the different colors that go into this polish. Absolutely stunning, perfectly up my alley, and magnetic, so literally a perfect polish. So then we have the shade False Awakening, and this is the first of 2 light blue polishes, but they are actually incredibly different. This first one has that really soft sky blue base, and then within it we have this really gorgeous iridescent flaky running throughout. So it's tiny enough to be a shimmer, but you can still see the way that the light hits it. There's this sort of irregular shape to it, so it's slightly larger than a regular shimmer pigment, and it kind of shifts between this golden bright color and also this greenish sort of shade. So started off with 2 coats. It looked perfect in 2, but you could still see the visible nail line. So I ended up applying a third just to see how I could build up coverage. And I think just depending on my mood, I would either wear this one as a more sheer wash of color, or I could make it a little bit more intense. And I found that to be the case with all of these polishes. You can really decide, because they're not patchy at all. If you want to wear them in 2 coats, they look really gorgeous that way as well. And I think it almost adds to the surrealness of the polishes too. And then we have the other blue of the collection. This is Dream Logic Magic, and it's actually, I believe, the same blue base color, but this is intensely different, and you can see almost immediately how it looks totally different from False Awakening, because we have that sky blue base, and then within it we have another iridescent shimmer. This time it's a lot more fine of a particle, and it shifts between this intense blue into indigo, into purple, into fuchsia, and then we also, in addition to that, have a hollow sparkle running throughout. So this one is a lot more cool toned. It's definitely a more intensely vibrant kind of color, and I almost kind of feel like they're representing sunrise and sunset. False Awakening is kind of like the sun color, and Dream Logic is more of like cosmic moon sunsetty vibes. So I thought that was really cool. Again, I actually thought this looked really gorgeous in 2 coats, but I think I do prefer this one in 3 just because I love how intense that purpley color becomes. So again, nice to be able to decide between the 2, but I'll probably stick to wearing this one in 3 coats. Then we have the shade Persistent Realm, and this one is a really beautiful, very soft sage green base. And then within that, we've got another really gorgeous duochromy iridescent shimmer. So this one's this really intense, almost neon pink kind of color that also shifts into a coppery orange shade. And again, I really love the way that this looked in 2 coats. I just loved being able to see that tiniest little touch of visible nail line and still have that color be as intense as it is. And I know I say this all the time, but I just love a really strong contrast. And not only do we have a contrast between that cool base and that really warm shimmer, but we also have a contrast between a very soft, serene kind of base color and then having this really intense, punchy kind of shimmer in there. So I thought they did an amazing job with this one as well. Here's what it looks like in 3 coats. It just makes it a little bit more intense and vibrant, and I love it both ways. Then we have the shade Somnia, and this one is a soft pastel pink base, and then within it we have an iridescent blue shimmer running throughout. And I'll be honest, I was a little nervous about this one because in the first coat I thought it was going to be a little bit patchy, but it ended up actually giving me really stunning coverage in the second coat, and it didn't look patchy at all. It actually was a little bit more opaque than the others in the collection, in my opinion, and I thought this was such a stunning little twist on the types of colors that we see like this, because I don't think that pink and blue is that unique of a combination when it comes to having that like blue iridescent shimmer, but I do think there's something about this that's a little bit different from the ones I own. I think the pink is actually a little bit lighter and slightly warmer toned, which again makes that gorgeous contrast between being a very soft, subtle, slightly warm base and then being that really intense, sparkly, cool tone shimmer. So another one that they did an absolutely gorgeous job on. Next up, we have the shade Deja Vu, and this was one that I wasn't quite sure what to expect from it when I saw it in the bottle, because I was kind of thinking this looked like more of a winter holiday sort of vibe to me. We have this kind of brick red base color that has a little bit of a brownish tone to it, and then we have this really intense, cool toned iridescent shimmer that shifts between silvery blue into purple into fuchsia. And I have to say, I was totally wowed by this. This one actually was a 2-coater on me. It didn't give that sort of jelly-like look, but the color combination is just so unexpected and wild. I didn't expect to love this one as much as I did, but I think it's perfectly stunning. And then we have the shade Flicker, and if you're familiar with the back rooms, no clipping kind of vibes that liminal spaces always do, then you probably know this is the exact color of the back rooms, and I thought that was such a cool little call out for the collection. So this one is a beautiful golden orangey yellow shimmer, and it is totally packed with this duochromy golden shimmer that shifts between yellow and gold. And one thing I love about Starrily is their gold metallic polishes. They have so many gorgeous variations, and this is just another one that I immediately fell in love with. I love that mixture of that golden warm kind of color mixed with that almost greenish sort of yellow shimmer, because I think that makes it universally flattering. Some people need to kind of stick to those more warm tones, some need to stick to the cooler tones. I tend to stick to the cooler tones of yellow just because I think they suit my skin tone a little bit better, but I just think this one is so flattering even though it does have that sort of orangey tone to it. And then last but not least, we have Artificial Sun. This one is the iridescent flaky topper, and this was a surprise favorite of mine. I honestly thought it was going to be pretty simple, but what really excited me about this this one is how intensely packed the flakies were in this topper. And we have this gorgeous color combination. When the light hits it, it looks golden yellow. When you don't have the light on it, it looks like this beautiful periwinkle blue to purple. And you really don't need to fish around for the flakies. They come in a lot of different sizes and they just apply so evenly across the nail. I have to say, the combination over Persistent Realm is such a stunning manicure. I think this has to be what I wear next because they look so beautiful together. I love that combination with the sage green and then having that sort of blue purple with the little sparks of yellow as the topper. Absolutely stunning. I also tried it over Deja Vu and I wasn't expecting much from this combo, but I actually ended up really loving this as well. I feel like this is definitely a topper that you can pop over anything and it's just going to add a little bit of dimension and it almost adds a little bit of that surrealness to it. So again, I think they just did an incredible job really encapsulating the vibe of liminal spaces with these. So yeah, here are all the polishes together and I think that these are absolutely stunning. It's honestly kind of funny because I feel like I spend a lot of time talking about how I don't really love pastel shades and I do think that this collection featured a lot of them, but I think having those really intense shimmers in there really changed the vibe of the polishes. They don't just feel like springy pastel kind of colors, they feel like dreamy sort of shades and then you just get that intense pop of color when the light hits it, and I think that's so incredible. Like I said, it really captures that liminal space sort of vibe and all of the colors just have this sort of slight unexpected twist to them. I think just the intense contrast going on with each color is such a fun twist and I don't know, I just think it's such a cool theme idea. So yeah, let's talk about these a little bit more. So yeah, those are the polishes and as you can see, I really love them. Firstly, talking about the formulas, I think they were incredible. They were so creamy, so smooth to apply. They looked stunning on the nails. Starrily is just such a beginner friendly brand. I love that they changed their brush to that rounded tip because it just makes application so much easier. So I think they did an incredible job with that. The topper is so absolutely packed. I feel like it's just so much more intense than the other iridescent flaky toppers I have, so I love that one. But yeah, overall, I think the collection is just so perfectly evocative of this sort of ethereal space. I feel like what it is that the colors just feel very slightly odd in terms of combination. Like they seem normal enough, but then the shimmer in there is just like a slightly different color than you would expect, and I think that's what makes it kind of feel liminal to me. So I think they did a really awesome job with that. One thing I will never get tired of with Starrily is the type of collections they do. I feel like they always just come up with these ideas that are so funky and different. Just like thinking of like the Pi Day collection. I just feel like this is the type of concept that people wouldn't really think of, but it came together so perfectly and it also happens to align with my current obsession. So I really appreciate that. But yeah, let's get into pricing and availability. All these polishes come in the usual 15 milliliter bottles. They do feature the wide flat brush, which like I said, has the rounded tip, so application is even easier. And they retail for $16 USD each on the Starrily website. You can also get the full collection of 8 at a discounted rate for $120 USD. And I do have a discount code for the Starrily website. You can use the code KELLI for 10% off. But yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think of the collection? What do you think of the colors? Which is your favorite? And also, are you into liminal spaces? Let me know in the comments. We can chat about it. If you enjoy my swatch and review videos, please hit that like button. It really helps me out. It lets me know I'm doing a good job. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe. I love you all, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye. Let's talk about a would you rather that's actually about liminal spaces. I feel like a couple of the common ones are like being stuck in like the back rooms or like warehouse empty space of like a mall where it's just all hallways and corridors. And then there's kind of like that suburban unreality where like every single house looks the same and the sky kind of looks fake and there's nobody there. So I guess my would you rather question should be, which of those two spaces would you rather be stuck in? And for me, knowing what I know about the back rooms, which is that there's usually monsters there. Although to be fair, pretty sure there's also monsters hiding in the suburban houses too. I would rather choose to be in the houses. I feel like this is such a niche question. If you don't know anything about liminal spaces, you're gonna have no idea what I'm talking about. But let me promise you, if you look into it like on TikTok or Shorts or any sort of videos on that, or if you read any books, like I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Piranesi by Susanna Clark? That kind of vibe is like the liminal spaces. I feel like you're gonna fall into the rabbit hole so fast fast. I don't know, it's just such a cool concept. Actually, I feel like I've talked about it before, but there's a place in Vegas that's called Omega Mart that's like a weird, surreal, it's supposed to be a grocery store, but it's actually more of like an art gallery where it's like aliens or like there's a glitch in the Matrix kind of made this grocery store and there's all sorts of weird stuff happening. That to me is kind of like a liminal space. So that's a good example of one. But yeah, let me know where you would rather live in liminal spaces, if it's one of those would you rathers, or if there's another liminal space that you'd like to live in, like those underground pool tunnel kind of things that I always see on TikTok. All right, I gotta stop ranting. I will see you all in the next video. Love you. Bye.